Quasi here, and today I want to talk to you about anxiety and how to get rid of it and how I've been personally struggling with it my whole life and ever since starting up my business, how I deal with it, and really learn by the end of this video how you can totally manage your mind and your internal state so that you never get propelled by anxiety and it never causes you any harm, but you're truly in control of how you put yourself out there. This was something that was very, very important to me because if I didn't understand how to manage my own internal state and my state of anxiety, I probably wouldn't have made it here where I am today. I probably would have gotten consumed by it because it can get that overwhelming. Okay, so I want you to stick around to the very end of this video because I'm really going to show you the nooks and crannies of your mind and how to totally learn how to manage your mind so that you never become too attached to anything and anxiety never takes control of you. So before I begin this video, I know I don't mention this enough, but the free consultation spots have opened up for it, for the Reality Mastery Program. If you've been trying to schedule, I promise you spots aren't going to last too long, so make sure you go ahead and wait till the end of the video for the announcement on how to sign up for that. Okay, and with that, let's get started. So today I want to talk to you about anxiety and how I've been struggling through it and how you can overcome it and why we go through anxiety. Okay, so what happens is when we go through anxiety, the first reaction is to go ahead and try out some technique or some medication to get rid of it. So the primary concern here is to go towards like the symptom of it. You see the symptom of anxiety, you see this fear, you see this feeling, this overwhelming feeling that you can do nothing about. And then the immediate reaction is, oh my God, let me just take something to run away from it. Right? So this is what every single person does. This is what we all do. We want an immediate escape and relief from it. So that's why we seek all of these relief through medication, as opposed to going to the actual root and the source of it. So people rarely ever go to the source of it, right? If you go to a therapist, they'll prescribe you some anxiety meds, but they won't really tell you how to overcome it. They won't really show you how you can manage yourself so that this effect never comes into play. So in this video, instead of putting on another band-aid to this problem, we're really going to go and pull the curtains aside and really go down deep into why this wound is even happening, okay? So the real problem, the real reason anxiety actually happens is because of your identification with something that is non-real. Let's talk about that. Let's define that. So this is because of some unconscious identification, right? What do I mean by that? Well, when you identify with something that's not real, right? It's like identifying with something that's always changing. If you get too identified with your business, then whenever your business doesn't go your way, it's going to affect you. When you identify with your house, with your wealth, with your relationship, with the state of things that are impermanent, it's always going to affect you when they change because nothing material is ever permanent. It's always subject to change. This is what I mean by things that aren't real. Something that's real is always permanent, right? It never changes. Something that's not real is always subject to change. So anything material, therefore, is not really real. You know, if you really think about it this way, I know I'm going to get real woo-woo here, but if you really think about it this way, this world only appears real because you return to the same atmosphere, the same environment, the same people come to it. If you kept having a recurring dream every single night and you kept returning back to the same environment, same people, you would think that that dream is real. Right? The dream would appear real to you. And that's the insanity of it. This all appears real because we keep returning to it over and over. So therefore, if it is subject to change, if things are going to change tomorrow and everything is always in a constant state of unfolding and becoming, therefore this isn't really real. Right? So when we identify ourselves to something that's not real, naturally suffering is going to occur. Naturally anxiety, naturally fear, all of these things are going to affect us, right? So this is what I mean by unconscious identification. You get identified with something that is not you. That's not really you. And what do I mean by that? We're going to talk about that in a second. But for now, I want you to keep this in mind. And to give you an example in my business too, you know, something happens, something breaks down, an ad account shuts down, oh, the volume of sales that we've done this month is low, I would get anxious. I'd get really anxious, and I would see that this anxiety would drive me to do things that I normally wouldn't do, like constantly checking up on social media and constantly checking on my email, constantly trying to escape that anxiety by eating junk food, by playing video games or doing something just to get my mind away from it. I just wanted to get my mind away from it and run away from it. And I saw that this was slowly starting to destroy me, okay? Because I just couldn't do the things that I needed to do. I just wanted to escape them. I would wake up in the morning with this intense feeling of anxiety in my chest, right? And this feeling of anxiety would continue on throughout the day, and it would happen over and over again. And I just wanted to kill myself. Like, it got that bad. It gets so bad to the point where you're like, oh shit, I just don't want to live anymore. Like, this is prison, this is hell. So I started to see why this was happening, because you really got to peel away these false layers to start to see what's actually going on. Okay, and there was this realization of this unconscious internalization. I was unconsciously identifying with things that weren't really me. You're not your business, you're not your relationships, you're not your money. These are all just things that are in your possession right now. Okay, so the key here is to understand how to manage your expectations, but more so manage your mind, because your mind will start to grab onto things it sees. That's just how it is. Anything that it sees, it will try to grab onto it and say, mine. When you say, my car, you immediately identify with the car. And if the car weren't anymore tomorrow, it would destroy a piece of you. If you watched Harry Potter, it's kind of like Voldemort and his Horcruxes, because he split his soul into 7 and into the different Horcruxes. Whenever a Horcrux would get destroyed, he becomes less and less of himself, right? So now I want to share with you how you can manage your mind and never have anxiety be an issue again. I promise you this is the only thing that you need to do. So make sure you pay close attention to this. Okay, this is the thing that set me free. So let's understand this diagram and what it really means and how it can help you. Right now you have a mind and a body. Okay, you have this mind and you have a body. Whenever you feel a feeling in the body gets stimulated. When you think a thought, the mind gets stimulated. Okay. There is someone that's observing these feelings and these thoughts. So there's a witness behind these thoughts and these feelings. What is that? That is what we call this awareness. When the awareness gets too drawn into the mind and its thoughts and its material, then that propels the actions that you take. When it gets too engaged with the body and its feelings, then that propels the actions that you take. Again, when you feel terrible and you feel pain, you immediately want to do something and escape it, right? Same thing with the mind. Whenever you think a thought that's too powerful, too fearful, too desireful, then it propels you to do something about it, right? So this mind and this body is all a material of this ever-changing, this impermanent thing, okay? That which is permanent is really this. Is that which observes the mind and the body. Okay? So really think about it this way. Whenever you think a thought, your awareness gets identified to it. And when your awareness gets identified to it, it immediately propels you to action. Okay? This is how your anxiety starts to control you and the actions you take. Your actions aren't even your actions you're consciously choosing to take, but rather they're influenced by these thoughts that you have, by the memory and the imagination. You have past experiences of traumatic events, fear arises. You have future projections of how bad things could be and what you could lose. Then you hallucinate, and then you have these fearful projections, and then they drive you to action. So all of these things are really influencing you. The awareness gets identified to all of this material junk, and therefore it starts to think that it is that, but it's not. So the solution to this is to no longer have your awareness tied into your mind and your body. Okay, so to give you an example, when you observe your breath, your awareness is on your breath. When you observe a piece of your flesh, let's say your hand, you put your awareness on it and you really feel your hand, then your awareness is on your hand. But whenever your awareness is on something, it is escaping itself. Okay, so the key here is to turn your awareness back on itself. When you turn it back on itself, you identify with that which is permanent. Okay? This awareness was and will always be. Like, really think about it this way. You think that you are right now because you were born, right? And you think that you're unconscious when you're asleep. So I want you to pay close attention to this because this is going to be a turning point. You think you were unconscious when you're asleep, but you just don't remember that you were conscious, right? Your state of consciousness is based on your memory. Because you remember yesterday, you say you were conscious. And just because you're asleep doesn't mean you're unconscious or you're unaware. It's just that you don't remember it. You could have been fully conscious, you just don't recall. You know, sometimes when you fall unconscious and, you daydream, you forget that you were conscious, right? So that memory isn't there, but that doesn't mean you weren't conscious all day yesterday, right? So certain things, there's certain parts of it, the memory is missing from yesterday. You don't remember what you ate 3 months ago on the 1st of July, right? Because it's not because you weren't conscious, it's just because you don't remember. I hope this is making sense. So this means that this consciousness, this awareness is eternal. Just because we weren't born doesn't mean that this awareness wasn't at play. We just don't remember it. This is getting kind of crazy, but I want you to replay that over and over again. So this shows you that this awareness is actually permanent. It's not temporary. What you call as consciousness right now is basically states of remembering. Okay? When you turn back this awareness back on itself and you start to observe the observer, aka who is it that's witnessing all of these thoughts, all of these feelings, that's when you connect to that permanent. Okay? So the way to do this, and there's a great book on this, it's called Who Am I by Ramana Maharshi. It's who am I? You keep inquiring within the self. Whenever you have a thought or a feeling, to whom does this thought and feeling arise? Who is feeling this right now? Okay? There are just 2 questions you got to ask every single time this happens. Every single time you have a thought. And you really have to realize the answers to these questions and not just, be like, oh yes, it's to me. It's to me. You can't just answer the question. The whole point of it is realization. So question number 1 is, whenever a thought arises, who thinks this? And the natural answer is me. Or who is this me? Who am I? And really realize this, like, who is this? Once you get into a deep state of realization of who am I, that's when there's just peace. There's nothingness, absolute nothingness. So this is beyond all feeling. This is beyond all thought. Because it's the one that's observing this thought and this feeling. And when you ask these questions, then this awareness gets turned back on itself, because awareness is trying to observe awareness. And this is how you end this cycle. This is how you destroy this cycle of identification of mind and body. Anytime you feel anxious, just ask yourself, who feels this? Who is actually observing and feeling this feeling? Me. I am. Who is this I? And there's like this deep stillness, right? This is what we call the space between 2 successive thoughts. The empty space between 2 thoughts is pure awareness. Once you can learn to tap into this pure awareness, anxiety is a thing of the past. Like, you're beyond all feeling, you're beyond all thought, right? This is something that's much better experienced than it is me making a video about. So if you don't do this, it won't be effective at all. The reason I'm making this video is so that you can intellectually understand it. If you intellectually understand it, then you're going to use it. Okay? So the only way to really know this, is to experience it. Right? So now I'm going to share with you the 3 keys to allow you to use this and make anxiety a thing of the past. Key number 1 is keeping that internal eye. Anytime you find that you're getting too drawn into what's happening outside, this internal eye is missing. This awareness is missing. If you really want to change your life and achieve your goals, the one thing that you need is self-awareness. If you can be aware of yourself and how you're placed and how you relate to this material world, you'll be able to change all your patterns just like that. It becomes very simple. But it's this self-awareness and deeper layers of self-awareness that's missing. That's the problem. So keeping an internal eye means conducting this awareness exercise where you ask these 2 questions and then you keep inquiring into the self. Anytime the attention moves away from the internal to the external and you keep your focusing on your business or you're focusing on social media or something, you're doing something, who is it that does this? And who am I? Just take a step back. Learn to take a step back and smell the roses. Self-inquiry. Key number 2, understand that fear, anxiety, any single feeling that's temporary, these are all impermanent. Right? These are all temporary. It's not real. What's temporary is not real. What's dependent is not real. That which is independent is only real. Okay? So fear and anxiety are just either past memories or future projections. They're not the present moment. Within your memory and imagination, in between them, lies present moment. That's when awareness turns back in on itself and becomes pure awareness. Number 3, be acutely aware of how your thoughts are driving you. Like if you just start to observe your thoughts and you see how they propel you into action and these patterns that keep emerging, you'll gain a little bit more of self-awareness. And the more self-awareness you gain, the more you'll be able to determine your fate and what happens next. Okay? And with that, I conclude this video. I sincerely hope this was helpful. Let's do a quick recap of what we talked about. I know it was really heavy. Please bear with me. This is difficult. I understand. It took me a long time to fully understand this. But if you keep practicing this, you will get it. It's just an experience that happens. Okay? What we talked about was anxiety and how to control it. You know, instead of coping with it, instead of trying to treat it, we want to get rid of it. We don't want it to be a thing. And the only way to not have it be a thing is when you stop bothering with the mind. You let the mind do the thinking. You let the body do the feeling. You just stop energizing it. You stop identifying with it. You just turn back awareness on itself. And then it doesn't matter what happens in the mind and what happens in the body. It's irrelevant to you. You're not it. You just are. So what we do is we treat the symptoms. When we see anxiety, we're like, okay, I want to manage this anxiety so I can keep on thinking and being the mind. But I just don't like the anxiety. I like the good feelings and not the bad feelings. Well, if you want the good feelings, then the bad feelings come along with it. Be beyond all feeling. Okay? The real problem is this unconscious identification. You just fall asleep and your awareness just falls astray. You're not becoming a police. I'm sorry, but the way out of this is to become a police. You have to become a police of your thoughts. In not trying to control your thoughts. That's not what I mean. But just by bringing awareness back to its center and resting as awareness. At first it becomes very difficult, but over time it gets easier and easier because it becomes your natural state. You start to see past all of these illusions. Okay? And the key we talked about was understanding how awareness attaches to the mind and to the body. And the process of self-inquiry. Okay, we talked about how awareness gets into thought and it propels you into action. Awareness gets into body, propels you into action. Suffering is evident because of this. Because you're always in the mind and you're always in the body. You're always going to move up and down with how life goes, how this illusion goes. And the key out of that is asking the 2 questions. Whenever a thought occurs, who thinks this? Whether it be a good thought or a bad thought. Who thinks this? I do. Who am I? Get into full realization of that. Keep this internal eye. Understand that fear, anxiety, desire, all of these are based in past and future, memory and imagination. Number 3, understand that your thoughts can propel you into action when they get energized. When you energize a certain thought with awareness, it propels you into action. Right? And with that, I conclude this video. Thank you so much for watching. I sincerely hope this was helpful. If you're new to this channel, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and hit that little bell there so you're notified of any new video that I put out. And also, I'm super excited to announce, as I mentioned before, the free one-to-one consult with me and my team for the Reality Mastery Program is now open. Make sure you click on the link in the description below to sign up, and let's see if we can actually help you out. Who we typically work with are as follows. Okay, people who are entrepreneurs, they're wanting to take their businesses to the next level, and they find that they don't have a business problem anymore. They have all of the tactics and strategies, or the right tactics and strategies aren't showing up for them because they're aligned incorrectly. And the same pattern keeps happening, not just in their lives, not just in their businesses, but in every single area of their lives. Okay? And these patterns are reflecting out in their businesses and it's preventing them from going up. Patterns like self-sabotage, patterns like procrastination, patterns like they can't charge the prices that they know they want to charge and they know their worth. And it's all because of this internal barrier that's been created unconsciously. If that sounds like you, click on the link in the description below to sign up, and I look forward to seeing you there. The free Facebook group is also open for you to take advantage of. The link for that is also in the description. Make sure you fill up the 3 questions or else we can't approve your membership there. Thank you so much for watching. Till next time. Peace!